こんにちは。
Hello.
Hello.
Good
morning.
afternoon.
Good day. We gotta standardize our introduction so that's not.
なんか他のポッドキャストのアカウントの聞いててもみんなちゃんとしてるのにうちらだけランダムでしかも被って言ってるし、
スタイル
をちゃんと考えましょう次は。
This is our style.
This
Welcome
is our
to Bilingual Fufu.
Welcome. 今日のトピックはですね、英語の悩みを募集したので。
英語の悩みって何？英語を勉強する人の
言語学習の悩みだ。そう募集したからいくつかその回答とか、アドバイスを、はい、したいと思います。
What kind of problems? What kind of worries?
4つ大まかに分けて用意してるんだけど、じゃあまず1個ずつ言っていくね。
Yeah, sure. And then we'll talk a little bit about each one.
Yeah. まず1個目。話すことの自信がつかない。やっぱりエクスペリエンスが足りてないから。
Yeah.
2個目。学習の仕方、勉強の仕方。そして3個目が、勉強してもやっぱり忘れちゃう。ノートに書いても勉強しても使うところがないからとか、そういういろんな理由で忘れちゃう人が多いみたい。でも最後の1個は聞き取れるけど話せない。これはね、留学中の人にいっぱい多いと思う。
Really?
はい、こちらです。
Yeah, those are all big, and I can relate to some of them with learning Japanese. So I guess you want to start with the first one and then talk about our experience and what we learned and our advice.
Let's do this.
Cool.
Okay, じゃあ最初、話すことの自信はどうやったらつくと思う？
This is one thing that, like, confidence, people think confidence is a skill that you build over time, whereas I disagree. You know, like a 5-year-old never had to learn how to be confident, right? It's just naturally they're in a state of play and relaxation and exploration and curiosity, right? And I think people of any age can do the same thing. It's not a new level of confidence that you're reaching. It's a getting rid of the worries. You know, you're not adding in a new skill, you're getting rid of the fear. Which that reframe helped me a lot when I was living in Japan. Like, I used to think like, oh, I had to train the skill of being a better communicator, when really I just had to stop worrying about like trying to be perfect and just treat it like a game, treat it like play, like laugh at yourself for being silly and making lots of mistakes.
本当になんか間違えることにちょっと怖がってるから、やっぱり自信がなくなっちゃう。だからもうちょっとわかる単語があったのに、やっぱりいざ本番英語を話すときになったら OK とか Thank you とかしか出てこないってなるのが結構あるあるだと思うから、そのためにどうすればいいかっていうと、なんか私は結構話してる相手、例えば英語の人と英語を話す方と話してたら、その人が言ったことをオウム返しで同じこと言う。カエルの合唱みたいに。
You do a good job of that.
Like I'm doing a good job of that みたいな感じで。今なんて言った？ You're doing a good job.
You do a good job of that. Like,
でしょ？
Sometimes when I'll talk to you in English, like I'll notice you under your breath, like quietly, like copying the things that I say. Just, like to keep it in your mind, I guess. Which is good. It builds like muscle memory in your mouth and in your mind.
そう。あとは、これ言ってるだけで、やっぱりコピーしてるだけだから、なんか完璧にワードが何言ってるか分かんなくても、なんかリズム、音、なんか歌みたいな感じで、言ってることは大体同じように言ってれるようになれるし、おすすめ、私は。
Yeah. One of the things I remember when I used to teach my students in Japan, I would ask them, like, I would make sure they know that their goal is to make as many mistakes as possible. Because there's an atmosphere in a lot of Japanese students of like, if I make a mistake, people are going to think I'm stupid.
そう、なんか、あとは、分かってないから、勉強してないじゃんって逆に思われたりとか。
And so we would see these students who would like, we'd all be sitting at a table together and they would be afraid to answer anything out loud because they didn't want the other kids to think they were stupid. Whereas if we asked them to write down something, their English was amazing. They could write amazing English sentences, but they didn't want to say them out loud because they were afraid the other kids would think they were dumb or something.
あとは、なんかその、英語をちゃんと話す、なんか、英語を話す人ってなんかやっぱりちょっと目立つじゃん。だから、なんか話せるけど、あんまり話さない方が、とかっていう、なんか、自分を守るために。とかでね、やっぱり筆記のテストはすごいけど、みたいな。この間もさ、友達とのインタビューで、あまね、ちゃんも同じこと言ってたけど、ね、なんか他の国の人よりも、なんか筆記とかはすっごく点数が高くてよかったのに、やっぱりスピーキングが、とかっていうのでね。だから間違えるの。
And it's not the kid's fault, you know. They haven't had a teacher that taught them the right way. They haven't had a lot of foreigners to talk to.
だから怖がらないで。
楽しんで。
楽しんで。
Make lots of mistakes.
Make lots of mistake. 次。学習の仕方だったね。学習の仕方はどんな感じで日本語勉強したタルくん？
Well, everyone's way of studying is going to be different based on their goals.
そうだね。
One of my goals was to be able to communicate with real people in real life, which, you know, if somebody else had the goal of like they wanted to read manga or they wanted to watch Japanese dramas or something, their goals might be a little bit different. But I wanted to be able to, if I wanted to, live in Japan and communicate normally with people. If I needed to go to the bank, I can communicate. If I needed to read a newspaper, I can read it. So my goals were a lot, I think, higher than most people. So it was really important for me that I wanted to learn like pronunciation, intonation, like the difference of the dialects. I wanted to learn all about kanji, how it works. So the way I studied, I could do a whole episode about it because there's so many different things. Definitely my goals were different than most people. And I prioritized talking.
Talking
like
with.
Yeah, I would talk, like I took classes in Japanese. I would go to the teacher's office hours and like talk extra with them. Or I would go to the Japanese like club on campus and talk with the half Japanese kids. And that kind of thing was really important for me.
そうか。で、それでなんか学んだことを後からこう夜ノートにメモしてもいいし、自分でなんか、ボイスレコーダー、iPhone の、それにもう一回言えない単語言ってもらってとか、そういうのもできるしね。私は音楽が好きだから、なんかいっぱい洋楽聴いて、なんか言ってた洋楽の部分を全く同じように言うとか、あとは日本語でもともとある曲で英語バージョンになってるやつ、だったらもっと耳に入りやすいから、なんか、私がおすすめなのはパプリカ。米津玄師のパプリカのソングは英語バージョンもあって、で、キッズが歌ってるやつだから、こう、ポップで明るいし、すっごくおすすめで、なんか、日本語でこうやって言ってたところが英語ではこうやって言ってるから、なるほどね、こうやって言えるんだ、で、なんか、心配することないよっていう、その、歌詞も There's no to be afraid で言えて覚えれてっていうのでね
There's nothing to be afraid of
Afraid of か、There's nothing to be afraid of Okay
Or there's no reason to be afraid or something like that
そうでなんかいいと思った音楽、
Music is definitely really good for like enjoying learning the new language and engaging with it and like building your confidence with it because if you can sing that language you can say the words out loud normally, right?
しかも歌って友達作れるしね、歌ってたら。
The only downside to some music is for one the stress and the intonation isn't always the same as normal talking. And also like the way things are said are not always super useful phrases.
わかる。
Like you know, a rap song isn't going to be talking in the same way that like a person would talk to another person. But, you know, it's still the language, it's still new vocabulary, it's still new grammar, it's still new pronunciation practice. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
はい、3番目。
勉強しても忘れちゃうっていう。
Yeah.
やっぱりね、ノートに書いてる内容全部頭に入るわけないじゃん。
Right.
あとドリルやっても
Right.
使うところがないとね。
Yeah.
どうすればいいと思う？
I think one of the small tactics that helped me is like if I pick a word or a grammar point like for the day and just try to use that as often as possible, as many times as I can throughout that day,
ね。
then it's like you build up a lot of practice.
わかる。
Or if you learn a new grammar point, instead of just like looking in the textbook or whatever and seeing how they use it, like I would see a grammar point and then I would go into my own notebook separately and I would write out as many example sentences as I could using that grammar point in like a real life situation where I might actually use that.
そう。
Like a time when I would really say that, or it's a place where I would really like be talking about that and be able to use that point using real situations, real people in my life, real places I go to, real things that I care about. So it's not just some random like, oh, Mary and John went to Starbucks or whatever. It's like actually something I would say.
わかる。なんか私も全く同じ方法で、ダル君を通して経験したのは、今日ディベイリングって言葉を覚えたって言って、
何？
ディベイリング迷ってる？
Debating?
Debating?
Yeah.
それで、だからこれを使おうと思う。で、最初に言っといて、
Yeah.
で、一緒にその一日過ごすじゃん。
Yeah.
で、アイスクリーム屋さんに行っても、I'm still debating って言って、おい、使ったね、イエーイでもいいし、なんかその、今日これを使う、新しいこの単語って言ったら、なんかその一日の、もう一個でも全然違うじゃん。覚えないで。それで、一個ずつ一日一単語じゃないけど、勉強して忘れないようにして自分のものにするっていうのをやってる。
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely making it your own and finding ways to really use it in connection with your own life. Definitely super important.
だよね。今の勉強しても忘れるの中でまだあるんだけど、私の中では。なんか独り言めちゃくちゃ使う。なんかちっちゃいウプシーでも、アウチでも、なんか使ってったら自分のものになって、日本語よりも全然出るようになるし、ね、独り言。
That's true. And even if you're not actually talking out loud, like practicing thinking in the language, most of us think in some form of words most of the time, right? Maybe not necessarily full sentences of like, I am going to go to the store now or anything like that, but like we think about things in fragments of sentences and that kind of thing.
でも、それも言ってもいいじゃん。I need to go store today って言いながら。
Right. And that was one of the best pieces of practice for me when I was first learning Japanese. And I think one of the reasons why I learned how to speak a lot faster than some other people was because like going to Japanese class and leaving Japanese class, I would be thinking in my mind, trying to describe the things happening around me. Because this was like when I first started learning. So I was still learning normal vocabulary, normal sentences. And I would be like trying to make sentences like, I am walking to the classroom. The girl with the red hat is drinking her coffee by the building. Like stuff like that. Just trying to describe what I see, describe what I'm doing, describe what others are doing. And as you get higher and higher level at that, as you start to learn all the words of the things around you and the normal actions, then you can start to think about like things you want to do, things you care about, things you think about politics or the world or whatever. Like,
そうだね。
practice thinking in the language.
で、なんかそれで、なんか夜、日記書くとかもさ、習慣にしたら英語でね、日本語でも、学んでるラングエッジによって、例えば、today I read 何々、I had a smoothie でもいいし、ちっちゃいのからどんどん日記でも書けるようにしてたら、多分めちゃくちゃレベルアップするよね、その言語の。
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
次、4個目。聞き取れるけど話せない。これね、私も今でもあるし、たまに。
That's a really big one for me.
本当？
Yeah.
何言ってるか分かるけど、って英語で話すってなったらね、日本語で誰くんだったら話すってなったらとか。
Yeah, that's a big one for me because a lot of my practice over the last couple of years, because I've been living in the US and because I haven't been speaking Japanese all that much, say at work or even at home, but I'm still doing a lot of reading and a lot of listening, like listening to Japanese podcasts and reading Japanese books and that kind of thing. So there's a difference between what's called recognition and recall. Recognition is like mitara wakaru, right? Recall is like it comes out of you. You know it and you can bring it up without any prompting. Like if I see the word written, I can tell you what it means in English. I can tell you how to say it and whatever. But if someone asks me like in English, how do you translate this to Japanese? I would have to think for a minute, like, I'm not sure. For normal stuff, it's obviously easy, but big like engineering words and stuff, like it takes me a minute.
Yeah.
But do you have the same experience?
あるある、もちろん。だからそれこそホストファミリーと、How was your weekend? って言われて、We went to somewhere, これ、ブラブラブラって話しても、で、How was it? なんか、What did you get? とかって言われても、待って、あれはなんていうの？例えば、もう、なんだろう、すごくスペシフィックだったら、なんかこう、仕事用のカバンを見に行ったでも、仕事用のカバンだったら、ただのバッグじゃなくて、どうなるって頭で考えてたら、なんて言ってるか分かるのに、伝えられないから、this って買ってきたものを見せたり、でもその後にマミーに答えを教えてもらいたいから、私はなんかどうやって言えるっていうのをいつも聞いてた。私はこれを買ってきたって言いたかったって言ったら、You can say like blah 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 って言ってくれるから、なんかそういうので私は対応してた。
Yeah, definitely asking people how to say stuff. What else?
それこそまたなんだろう、聞き取れるけど話せなかったら何度もこのポッドキャストでさおすすめしてる方法だけど、シャドーイングでなんかいろんな英語の言い方使い方を、YouTube でもシャドーイングの練習をして、こういう時にこれ言ったことあるから伝えれるっていうのでさ、いい方法だと思う。
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it comes from many people have difficulty speaking because they're still thinking in their native language and trying to translate, which I think makes it a lot slower. When we can learn how to try to think in the new language, it helps a lot, especially when you use things like, for example, this is a really silly example, but say you don't know how to say warm. You can say not cold.
Yeah. I do this a lot じゃない？
Yeah.
なんか
or like if you don't know library, you can say like, oh yeah, what's the name of like the building with lots of books that you can rent?
Yeah.
Right? If you know how to ask somebody about a word or something, then you don't have to like stop and find the dictionary. You can just like have a conversation with the person.
すごく簡単にでもいろんな言葉を使って、頑張ってみたら、その言えなかった言葉を誰かがヘルプして、何々じゃないって言ってくれたりするってことでしょ？わかる。すっごくそれやる。私もさ、なんか、意地悪じゃないけど、なんか私の英語力を試される時がたまにダルくんにあって、葵これってなんて言うの？とかって言われるけど、昨日なんだっけ？それでさ、英語の途中で、杖だ。
Oh, yeah.
杖って英語でなんて言うのさって言われて、helping stick? みたいな言ったら、Yeah, that works みたいな。あったよね。
Yeah.
でも本当は杖は helping stick じゃなくて、なんだっけ
？It could be a staff or it could be a cane or something like that.
らしいです。でもそんな感じで、いくらでも言い回し終わるから、頑張って、それで過ごせますよ。
Trying to like stick in that language as much as possible. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why you and I are not as good at this one sometimes, is because when we talk, we mix both. Like if we're in Japanese mode, I'll be speaking Japanese mode until I reach some point where I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what to say. And then I'll just switch to English.
いや、それでうちらダメなんだよ。なんか、頑張って英語は喋れるけど、途中で、めんどくさいでも、ここの単語だけわからないってなったら、なんか、I just bought this, what is this? 何って日本語で言ってから、Isn't it cute? って言ったりしちゃうから、その勉強になってない。
Right, yeah.
だからうちらもね、ちゃんとミックスラングエッジしないで、ほら今も分かってるんだけど、あとは言いやすいとか、慣れちゃってるとかでもあるよね。
Yeah.
なんか混ぜた言語で。
It's fun, it's nice, it's cute. I like mixing both, but it is not helpful for us.
だからちょっと気をつけよう、これから。
Yeah.
ね。なんか午前中は日本語、午後は英語だけとかをしたら多分完璧なバイリンガルになると思う。
Yeah.
楽しいね。そんな感じかな。あとはなんだろう、英語学ぶときに悩んだとか、日本語学ぶときに悩んだとか、他にある？
I don't know if this is a 悩み, but definitely like don't stress out too much about the small details of everything. Like one big thing that I had to learn was when I was first learning about 音声学 was I learned how to reflect on my own Japanese, and I could notice when I was making mistakes. But if I think too much about it, if I think too much about having perfect grammar and stuff, then it's like I'm gonna start talking slower and less naturally because I'm overthinking about it, right? So one big tip that helped me a lot was like when you're studying, assume you're wrong and double check everything and like look at everything and really, really check. But when you're talking to somebody, when you're communicating, just forget everything. Assume you're right. Follow your natural intuition. Stop thinking about it. Stop double checking and just allow the words to come out naturally.
So,
and you'll make lots of mistakes, and that's okay.
So,
but then go back to study mode. Like basically keep study mode and talking mode separate.
わかる。話すときと、勉強するときの頭は切り替えた方が、スムーズにいくよね。だから友達を作りたくて話しかけるとか、そういうの時も、なんか、こういった勉強したからこれって言おう。もういいけど、それよりも、なんか I like your something なんか髪の毛でも、メガネでも、なんかその、何かブリングして言った方が会話も弾むし楽しいし、なんか、その、キャッチボールも上手くなるし、会話のね。だから、私もそれいいと思う。
Yeah. And I guess maybe one last tip that I have, and you can let me know if you have others, but if you have difficulty talking in the new language that you're working on, one trick that helped me a lot, especially with this last point where like you understand a lot but you don't know how to talk as much, is just get really good at asking questions.
わかるわかる。
Like,
ダル君それめっちゃしてくれる。
There were times when like I would be in a conversation with somebody in Japan and there was this old guy that was telling me this story about how he was traveling to France and stuff, and I didn't have a lot to add or say, or even if I did, I wasn't sure how to at the time. And so I just kept asking him questions like, tell me more about that, or like even for a normal person, like asking them where they went to school, what did they study, like being able to listen to the things that they mention and then just ask about the details of it. They'll just keep talking and talking and talking and talking, and most people love to talk. So if you're a really good listener and you ask open-ended questions that allow them to keep talking, they're going to think that you're super fluent because they're going to walk away from the conversation just remembering having a fluent conversation with somebody who's a really good listener, right? They're not going to remember the fact that you didn't know how to say XYZ word because they were the ones talking the whole time.
本当だよね。なんかもう簡単な質問でもさ、何が食べ物が好き？日本食何がおすすめ？でも、なんだ出てこないって時でも、How about you? って言っちゃえば、あっちがこれはとか、今何食べたいでも、ね、なんかこのあっちにもう一回質問を返してみたらさ、会話が自分で悩むよりもスムーズに進んでいいっていう時あるよね。コミュニケーションの一つの方法だよね。いい。
I was taught like to imagine like a spotlight, like a light shining on you, and you want to try to keep the light on them, your partner, like 80% of the time, so that they do most of the talking. And most people like to talk about themselves, so.
あとはただリラックスして構いすぎないでってところも大事だね。なんかやっぱり同じ人間だし、ほぼ考えてることも感じることも同じだから、あ、外国人だって感じでこうなんか構えなくても、可愛いと思うものは同じかもしれないし、だから、緊張しすぎないで挑むのいいと思った。
Yeah, okay. That was all 4 points, right? Did you have any others?
こんくらいです。
Amazing. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you got something useful or helpful out of all of this.
頑張りましょう、一緒に。なんか多分、第二言語って永遠に勉強は終わらないから。だから、ね、一緒に頑張りましょう。
If you have any other tips that you learned, or if you have anything to add to anything that we said, please send us a message, DM us on Instagram.
インスタグラム、はい、見てください。いろいろ私たちの日常も上げているので、チェックお願いします。
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.